And now, after years of waiting, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater returns to immerse us in this unforgettable world once again. The developers promise not just a graphic facelift but a full-fledged remake that carefully preserves the spirit of the original. All cutscenes were redrawn on UE5, however the remake creators tried to preserve the original setting of the frames and scenes as much as possible. The main changes are modern management, as well as more convenient menus. The plot tells how the operative Naked Snake goes to the jungle to stop the production of a secret superweapon and at the same time deal with his former mentor. The transition from urban locations familiar to the series to dense jungles has changed the approach to stealth and given the project a unique identity. In MGSB3, it's not enough to just hide in the shadows. You need to blend in with your surroundings by choosing the right camouflage and using limited resources wisely, which adds depth to the gameplay. The antagonists in Metal Gear are some of the most memorable in games. Not only are they quirky and charismatic characters, but the battles with them turned out to be extremely fascinating and unusual. The game, for example, has a difficult sniper duel, which, if desired, can be won in a non-standard way, simply by waiting for an elderly opponent to die of old age. With Metal Gear Snake Eater, the opportunity to plunge into this legendary story in a new way and with improved gameplay is an exciting prospect. This is a chance to experience an adventure that redefined the stealth genre and solidified Hideo Kojima's reputation as a visionary game designer. Whether you are an experienced player or a beginner looking to delve into the origins of modern stealth games, Delta promises to be an unforgettable journey into the heart of the jungle. Techland has decided to postpone the release of the survival horror Dying Light, the Beast game. Now, instead of the originally scheduled date of August 22nd, the game will be released 4 weeks later, on September 19, 2025. Dying Light, the Beast, originally planned as a DLC for Dying Light 2, Stay Human, was redesigned after the information was leaked and became an independent game with Kyle Crane as the main character. According to the plot, Kyle Crane is finally released from captivity with the help of a woman named Olivia. Many years have passed and he has a human appearance again. His infection is revealed only by his blood-soaked right eye with a blue iris. Crane is now able to switch between his modes and optionally use the abilities of the infected, which he became in the finale of Dying Light, the following. According to Techland, Dying Light, the Beast features an increased level of brutality, including violent scenes and an impressive zombie killing experience. The studio decided to double the brutality compared to previous games, increasing the damage to enemies' bodies by 50% and tripling the number of visual effects such as exposed bones and torn flesh. To make the blood more realistic, the team used artificial blood in a controlled environment, studying how it spreads and stains surfaces, which led to more natural blood behavior in the game. In any case, a public demo will be available at Gamescom in Cologne at the end of August. The Mound is a cooperative horror shooter that challenges your team to survive in a ruthless jungle. Not only accurate shooting and tactical planning are important here, but also the ability to keep your mind in the face of increasing horror. The game offers a unique fusion of action and psychological thriller, where every step can be the last. But the danger in the Mound comes not only from external threats. The very nature of the jungle, steeped in ancient evil, affects the psyche of the characters. The longer the team stays in this cursed place, the more the symptoms of insanity appear. Players begin to hear voices, see ghosts, and lose control of their actions. These mechanics add an extra layer of complexity and unpredictability, forcing players to fight not only monsters, but also with their own minds. The Mound's storyline is shrouded in mystery and mysticism. The developers are gradually revealing the history of the cursed jungle, offering players to collect pieces of information from found records, ancient artifacts and visual cues. Each new discovery brings the team closer to solving the mystery, but also reveals new terrifying facts about the nature of the evil that lives in this place. At the end of the journey, players will face a difficult choice that will determine the fate of not only their characters, but the entire world. The Mound is a game that won't let you go until the very end. It offers a unique and immersive experience combining elements of horror, action and psychological thriller. If you are ready to challenge your fears and test your friendship, The Mound is a great choice for playing together with friends. Immerse yourself in a world of madness and chaos, and try to survive in the cursed jungle before your sanity finally leaves you. The Polish studio Bloober Team, which gave the world The Medium, Layers of Fear, Observer and the remake of Silent Hill 2, is preparing a new horror Cronos, The New Dawn. This time, the authors decided to pay more attention to the gameplay. The game features survival, fighting, saving ammo, crafting, solving puzzles, and overcoming anomalies. Cronos takes place in Poland in the future, destroyed by a catastrophe called the Change. There are few specifics, but it is known that it all started with an epidemic that spread due to people's refusal to comply with quarantine. As a result, orphans appeared slimy, organic monsters eager to devour each other in order to mutate into something more. The main character, an employee of the collective organization, embarks on a journey through time to save key characters who may be able to stop or reverse this disaster. The key focus of the Cronos player is to prevent the orphans from merging. Yes, enemies can be killed, but if you leave their corpses, other orphans can consume them and turn into giant, virtually indestructible creatures. Here, the authors were inspired by Carpenter's movie, Something. The game has elements of body horror. It was important for the developers that the orphans consist only of human flesh. One journalist specifically decided to violate the developers' advice to keep an eye on the remains of monsters and regretted it almost immediately. He could not kill the mutated enemy, despite a bunch of bullets planted in the enemy. Therefore, each body has to be burned immediately after the battle or during. This radically changes the approach to battles. Killing is not the main thing. The main thing is to control the corpses. Among the sources of inspiration, the developers also mention 12 Monkeys, Annihilation, with Natalie Portman and the Netflix series, Darkness. In Darkness, we're also talking about time travel. Events unfold in several timelines at once, and the events of one affect the rest. Judging by the studio's statement, we are waiting for a creepy horror with a deep narrative, but at the same time a rather personal story that focuses on the characters and their experiences. There is too little specific information about plot features in all the trailers available for study to draw any conclusions right now, but knowing how much the Bloober team loves psychoanalysis and deep exploration of human consciousness, something more awaits us than a standard adventure in post-Soviet Polish settings. At a minimum, the developers have already promised that the decisions made by players in the past will influence events in the future. At the end of June, Capcom revealed the first gameplay of the next installment in the iconic horror series Resident Evil Requiem. The developers shared the details of the upcoming game, and selected journalists have already tried out a 30-minute demo version, which seriously scared them. Contrary to many rumors about the return of Leon S. Kennedy, Resident Evil 9 will feature a new heroine for the series, Grace Ashcroft, the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, a journalist from Resident Evil Outbreak, a 2003 game. A young girl works as a technical analyst for the FBI. She is withdrawn and clearly still experiencing the tragedy of 8 years ago. Then, in the Wrenwood Hotel, her mother, Alyssa, died under mysterious circumstances. Judging by the announcement trailer, Grace will have to return to the sinister hotel, where someone was killed again. A girl needs to relive painful memories. Everything must have gone awry, because in the next scene, the heroine wakes up hanging upside down in that very hotel. Requiem is primarily focused on the horror component. The authors want the player to be afraid of the entire passage, and to achieve this effect, you need a character with whom you can associate yourself. That is, he should also be afraid, flinch at the slightest, rustle and scream at the sight of some monsters. The creators note that the name of the game, Requiem, speaks about all those people who suffered to one degree or another from the destruction of Raccoon City. At the same time, it is a requiem for the main character, Grace Ashcroft, who must work through a personal trauma. It has already been confirmed that the game will continue the overall narrative for the universe, unlike the last two numbered parts. They expanded the end and talked about incidents with the Winters family. Requiem's plot will return to the secret machinations of Umbrella Corporation in Raccoon City. In honor of the 30th anniversary of the series, the authors felt that Raccoon City was the most suitable location for the next game in the franchise. Silent Hill F, which is coming out next month, is to some extent even more significant than last year's remake of Silent Hill 2. The Polish studio Bloober team did an excellent job updating the classics. But Taiwan's NeoBards Entertainment faces an even more difficult task: to prove that the Silent Hill series is still capable of pleasing with new, original stories. Fortunately, judging by the information that has appeared about Silent Hill F in recent weeks, the chances of success of the game are extremely high. The main character of Silent Hill F is schoolgirl Hanako Shimizu, who lives in the fictional Japanese town of Ebisugoka in the mid-1960s. The authors chose this period because, in their opinion, It is one of the most unique in the history of the Land of the Rising Sun. It is a period of time when the state began to modernize rapidly and turn into one of the leading technological powers of the planet. But the spirit of old Japan was still felt in the architecture and culture of the people. This is a time of transition not only for the country, but also for Hinako herself, who has recently become a teenager and is now facing various difficulties. The girl is unsociable and confused about herself. Yes, she has friends of her own age, but she doesn't always get along with them, and there are constant conflicts between her parents at home. After Hinako's father got drunk and made a scene once again, she ran away from home and went to a meeting with her friends. When the guys gathered together, they were suddenly drawn into a gloomy version of their hometown with fog and monsters. Silent Hill F, like the recent remake of the second part, is based on three main pillars: atmosphere, level exploration, and enemy battles. And in the case of the new project, it's the monster fights that are most intriguing, because the developers from NeoBards have paid a lot of attention to developing the combat system. The authors admit that they initially sought to bring the Silent Hill F combat system closer to the standards of modern action games. They don't mention the Souls-like genre out loud, but the influence of hits like Dark Souls or Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice on their project is quite obvious. So, in Silent Hill F, the endurance scale plays an important role. Every hit and every dodge consumes it, just like in From Software games. An extremely interesting game is emerging at the current stage. It balances the old with the new in an interesting way. The atmosphere of the series is in place, all the key elements are too, but at the same time the project is perceived as fresh as possible due to the daring change of the setting from American to Japanese, and the author's experiments with mechanics like the combat system. Stuck in the production hell for years, Bloodlines 2, ironically, follows the path of its predecessor, who was also born in agony. Due to the difficult development, the first game in the series was released in extremely raw form, and even at the same time as Half-Life 2, which directly affected sales and led to the closure of the Troika Games studio. Immediately after its announcement, a black streak began. The release was postponed, the people involved in the creation of the first part were fired, and then in 2021, Paradox said goodbye to the Hardsuit studio and gave the second part into the hands of the Chinese Room, Vampire. The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 from the Chinese Room has little in common with the Hardsuit game. They are united only by the setting, visual style and the presence of some NPCs that were saved. Otherwise, the Chinese Room started everything from scratch. In Bloodlines 2, the gamer plays as a character with his own name, a fixed backstory, and full voice acting. The player chooses only the gender and clan. The character awakens in the modern world after a so-called torpor, a prolonged vampire sleep. Fire is a relatively ancient vampire who is already 400 years old. Upon awakening, it turns out that someone branded the protagonist with a mysterious symbol. A magical sign on his arm prevents the ghoul from leaving Seattle. Fire begins to look for the culprit and simultaneously tries to regain his strength. There will be only 4 clans at the start. Bruja melee specialists, Tremere or blood magicians who destroy enemies remotely, Banu Hakim stealth assassins. Ventress people are social manipulators who can influence the minds of their interlocutors. In Bloodlines 2, feeding functions in a new way. It now matters what emotions the victim experiences before the vampire bites her. The blood of a frightened person provides one type of glasses, while that of a seduced person provides another type. They can then be spent to unlock the abilities of other clans. Vampire. The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is quite different from the first part. It has a fixed character, an open world, and the ability to become a vampire of several clans at once. Whether a game is truly worthy of being called Bloodlines will depend on completely different things. The atmosphere and the quality of the script. It's really possible to evaluate this only at the release. The Outer Worlds 2 will be released in a few months and promises to be much bigger than the previous game. Commenting on this, Leonard Boyarsky, Obsidian's lead designer, noted that a sequel has always been the team's dream, but they were unable to realize it in the first game due to limited time and resources. In the new installment of The Outer Worlds, players will no longer have to choose between challenging mechanics and fun action. According to the game's creative director, Brandon Adler, the developers have done everything to make RPG systems as flexible as possible. One of the controversial points is that it will not be possible to redistribute in the game. The idea is for the player to actually play the role, rather than going through builds on the go. You build your character and bring it to the end. This is the essence of an RPG, Adler emphasizes. The Outer Worlds 2 promises to be a flexible, deep and honest RPG where the player chooses what and how he wants to play. She not only ridicules corporations, but also touches on the themes of militarism, state authoritarianism, and even religion. Due to this, the parties to the conflict represented in the game differ more from each other. It also became known about potential companions who can join the player. Everyone has unique motivations and character traits, and they all share a common unpredictability. Any companion can be a real problem for the hero if you don't build a relationship with him correctly. In the new game, the character enhancement system is inspired by Fallout New Vegas. Now all the skills fundamentally affect the gameplay style, rather than slightly increasing the damage rate. Also, the mechanics of flaws returned from the first game, when a gamer can choose a powerful ability that not only positively affects the character, but also negatively. In the Outer Worlds 2, the hero's mobility has significantly increased to make exploring locations more interesting, as well as more lively shootouts. The hero runs smartly, jumps high and dodges punches with lightning speed. The good news is that all the new acrobatics can now be observed from a third-person perspective, and in the best traditions of Fallout New Vegas, you can listen to the radio in the Outer Worlds 2. Each faction has its own radio wave with a different set of songs and presenters who comment on the player's latest actions.